NBC's Vaughn Hilliard is covering the Trump transition. Eddie Glaude is back with us as well. So, Vaughn, I think more than 1 million federal employees could be impacted by this. What more do we know about how Musk and Ramaswamy plan to execute these plans?
Right. Vivek Ramaswamy has openly said that if the federal government were to require all of its workforce to come into the office 5 days a week, they would effectively be able to eliminate 25% of the federal workforce. That was the prediction of Vivek Ramaswamy. Donald Trump has installed Elon Musk and Ramaswamy into outside the government consultancy roles to oversee this Department of Government Efficiency, as they're calling it, in order to provide what there would be recommendations to downsize the workforce for departments and agencies. Now, both of them are making the case that much of this can be done unilaterally by effectively forcing the hand of federal workers to comply with the regulations and decisions by the Trump administration, and that there will be a natural purging of the federal workforce. But also, much of this would come down to the reclassification of part of the federal workforce from civil workers, career workers, into political appointees. That could be one way. Donald Trump could sign that executive order to do just that. That would be another way to potentially eliminate tens of thousands of jobs. But then there is also the potential of congressional authorization to enact and give the president-elect Trump the authority to consolidate some of these departments and agencies and downsize the workforce through congressional authorization under the Presidential Reorganization Act. And this is notable because just this morning, Marjorie Taylor Greene was announced to head up a new subcommittee in the U.S. House that is an extension of this Department of Governmental Efficiency. So they clearly have the interest of actually going through and using the executive office to cut back this workforce and reduce it, but also use Capitol Hill as a means of identifying where they can consolidate and make those cuts.
So look, Eddie, the federal government is not alone in making decisions about return to work, for sure, right? But I'd like to get your take on the tone of this op-ed toward government workers. I mean, did you hear an insinuation that they are the problem, along with their promise to cut regulations, which some people have argued has less to do with saving the government money and more to do with businesses making money? I wonder what you heard when you read this op-ed.
So a couple of things, Chris. One is it's ironic that you have these oligarchs who are going to implement Donald Trump's so-called populist vision. Gives you a sense of how ironic that is. But two, there's this sense when Donald Trump talks about the enemy within, he's not just talking about Democrats. He's talking about the deep state, those bureaucracies, those agencies that gum up his attempt to have the U.S. Move at his will. And so this is part of this ongoing effort to address shall we say, the size of the federal government, these bureaucracies that aren't elected. Here in the op-ed, they hearken back to this wasn't a conception of the government that the founders had. Of course not. The founders, there were 13 colonies. Right? It was an agrarian society, an agrarian slaveholding society. Of course, they didn't think about the size of American society today. So what I see and hear, right, is the actual execution of not just simply an agenda to promote a small government, but an agenda to break government, and that will have enormous ramifications for the very constituency that put them in office. I keep asking myself, Chris, what have these people done? What have they done?
Worked hard. Well, they're saying they're going to save money. Can we talk about the monetization of government positions? Donald Trump just unveiled his latest venture with a photo on Truth Social. He's holding what he calls a limited edition 45 guitar. Some personally signed. They cost up to $10,000. That's just one example. Melania Trump is selling online photos of her life. Trump's pick for HHS, RFK, once that was announced. He's using that for fundraising. Should we be worried about all of that?
Hell yes. He's an expert level grifter. And you know what's really got me? Representative Summer Lee said this in the House of Representatives the other day. You know, a person like me, they complain that I'm a DEI hire. A person like Kamala Harris, she was nominated only because she was a black woman. Ketanji Brown Jackson, DEI, no merit based. Look at this. Are these folk in their positions because of merit? Of course not. So it's just unadulterated grift with no sense, no moral sense at all. And to me, it's a low moment in the history of the country. Can you imagine? Donald Trump will be the president of the United States on the 250th anniversary of the nation. My God, where have we come?
I'll let that